you've met.
We used to go see Tracy, and our daughters went to high school together.
Oh, you're kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, he was at a wedding last year. Oh, yes, and Tracy was my manager as well.
So.
Hey, Joe, you did it. Oh, my God, I thought you were gonna be. It's the warning.
You're my new assembly person.
Yeah.
Hi, Joan Wilson. I live in Bear Valley. Randy. Okay, welcome. But also the AMCO director, I guess that's.
Oh, okay.
You'll see.
So, Randy, what part of town are you in?
South Fingers.
You're my other South End.
Yeah.
I'm coming to Drive.
Yeah.
Oh, you and Suzanne are together. Okay, so you're my South Increase.
Yes.
You know what's funny is, I bet you could quiz a lot of people, and they would not really know, because it just a change here and there. And then when you give everybody something, it really takes everybody, so they don't really, my assembly person, as soon as they used to, I gotta go in front of the.
Can't even ask.
Okay, you're about, okay, so thank you as well. I'm sure, obviously, you're in the circle of what I was
I'm
trying to
looking
get
at this,
Yeah, I'm on Gunnison Drive and DeArmond.
Okay.
They're right there on the
Chris
corner
says he is.
on that. And you are where you live?
Right next to my-
Oh, I'm sorry, you told me. So that's still considered South Increase, this
Was on.
I think we're still under, but it-
Okay.
wait, here we go. Okay, the by administration is continuing it beyond July 15th. Okay. We're still under a federal emergency.
Okay. I could probably still cite that. I mean, I can't, that rate, when I saw the state one ending, I was like, oh yeah, we gotta read this. But I didn't.
Still a federal emergency.
But we can also do it by good cause too, so.
Summertime laws.
What's up, Russ?
So I think everything is
No, but can we talk about
good
that
to go,
after when
and
I'm
we
not in
have,
this role?
do we have Jamie, Kevin, Chris, and Pete on the phone, do you know?
Whatever.
Yes. Okay, so we'll go there, okay, great.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us here today. We will get started. I now call to order this special meeting of the Anchorage Assembly. It is June 14, 2022. We are noticed from 2 to 2:30 p.m. today. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. LaFrance,
Here.
Mr. Constant,
Here.
Ms. Allard,
Here.
Mr. Cross,
Here.
Mr. Dunbar,
Here.
Mr. Perez-Verdia, Mr. Peterson,
Present.
Ms. Quinn Davidson,
Ms. Quinn Davidson is excused.
thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rivera,
Mr. Rivera is excused.
Mr. Salt,
Here.
Ms. Zolotel.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar, would you read the land acknowledgement, please?
Yes. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement recognizing the indigenous people of a place. It is a public gesture of appreciation for the past and present indigenous stewardship of the lands that we now occupy. It is an actionable statement that marks our collective movement towards decolonization and equity. The Anchorage Assembly would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina Athabascans. For thousands of years, the Dena'ina have been and continue to be the stewards of this land. It is with gratefulness and respect that we recognize the contributions, innovations, and contemporary perspectives of the Upper Cook Inlet Dena'ina.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today for this special meeting. I want to note that the code per 2.30.075D provides the Assembly with flexibility for establishing quorum through a combination of members physically and telephonically present. And this is when the mayor, governor, or federal government has declared an emergency or for good cause by ruling of the chair. It's my understanding we are still under an emergency declaration by the federal government. However, this is expected to be a short meeting today. And given the professional and personal responsibilities that Assembly members balance with the duties of the position, it would be the ruling of the chair that it would be appropriate to establish quorum with a combined total of physically and telephonically present members. It provides agility to act quickly, such as on the item that is before us today. So we have one item on the agenda that we will take up. We now have before us item 4A, Assembly Memorandum number AM 341-2022, application for transfer of ownership of beverage dispensary liquor license number 1625 for Fire Tap to Cotonou LLC DBA On the Border Restaurant. And it is my understanding this is not a public hearing item. What is the will of the body?
Move to approve.
Second. A motion to approve has been made by Mr. Dunbar and seconded by Ms. Zalatel. Before I go to Mr. Dunbar, I do want to note that Jack Lewis with South of the Border is here, and also Joan Wilson with AMCO. Mr. Dunbar on the motion to approve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was hoping we might be able to hear from Jack just briefly. I think that would be helpful if you want to grab that microphone there, Jack. I'll just say from my perspective, this is a business in Northeast Anchorage that's hoping to do its grand opening tomorrow. And we well, I'll let Jack tell the story, but I'm hoping that we are able to support this and move it forward and get this license approved. Or not approved, but we will be non-objecting to it.
Great, good. Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. First, so I don't forget, I want to just thank, I thought my odds were better.
You're a little bit loud.
There we go.
Jack.
How's that?
Moment. We may
Is
need
it-
to switch. Do we need to switch
No, I
mics?
think it's okay. You just need to hold it not quite so close to your mouth.
How's that right there? Can you hear me okay?
You want to sit down, or
Yeah,
would
maybe
that
I'll
be
do that.
easier?
There you go.
How's that?
That's
Good.
good.
And if
Is
you
that
want to
good?
start by just stating your name for the record.
Yeah, thank you. Jack Lewis, and I'm the managing partner for the new On the Border restaurant at Tacotney Commons Mall in East Anchorage. And first of all, I will tell a little bit about the restaurant in a moment, but I'd like to make sure I don't forget at the end and walk out of the room. Tremendous thank you to everyone to get me to this position. I really thought my odds were better, actually walking to Fire Island at high tide than getting everybody, the assembly together for this issue, in June. And the second thing I have is I have an ongoing nightmare from my college days that I walk into my statistics midterm exam and I didn't know it was scheduled. And I still wake up with horrors from that. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It's just a nightmare. And I thought for sure my other nightmare is now going to be that I missed this meeting. And then somehow I overslept or something. I missed the meeting because I got up at 3, at 6 and kept looking at my watch saying, what time is the meeting? But a huge thank you, Joan. Thank you very much for, helping me stay organized on this. Suzanne, organizing this is tremendous. Forrest, I watched your video. I'm sorry I had to watch it. It was online.
Oh.
I didn't know you that well, but I watched the video and it was funny and it was fun. It was a great video. John Espindola from the state. I don't really know John. I think I might through some social function, but he was instrumental too. East Anchorage Community Council, wonderful. Mr. Dunbar, I don't know how you got them together so quick. It seems like a miracle to me to get to this stage. The clerk's office, Mandy, and anybody I might have missed in the room here. I apologize if I missed you because a big thank you to everybody. On the Border is a national chain restaurant that will employ about 65 people of all different ages, a lot of young people, 95% of them East Anchorage. They will not be walking around the malls. In the summertime, they'll be working there at the restaurant, making a living. So I was happy to keep them employed. The big executives are coming up from Texas for On the Border. It's a big deal for them. This is the first franchise in like 8 years for those guys. So it's a big deal. It's a large renovation to Tacotney as well to enhance the properties out there. People talk about, the franchises. They think the money goes out of state. That's not true. The money remains here in Anchorage with property taxes and employment. Only 4% of royalties really go out of the state. So it is locally owned and operated by my partners. And we've been in business a long time. And we are so excited to get open tomorrow. I will be picking up the CEO of On the Border restaurant late this afternoon at the airport. So that's how big a deal it is to them. So I love being part of East Anchorage. I have Krispy Kreme donuts as well. Love being part of Tacotney and looking forward to opening up tomorrow.
Great. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
So I just, before we hopefully get a chance to vote on this, Madam Chair, I just wanted to note for my colleagues in the packet, and hopefully this is emailed out as well, the last page here is the email from the president of Northeast Community Council. They, their executive board met electronically, and they have no objection. You can see in the email there, they have no objection to the transfer of this liquor license. So I also, like Jack, I want to thank and give a shout out to Northeast Community Council because they acted very quickly over the weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Ms. Wilson?
I also would like to thank Assemblymember Dunbar for acting so quickly this weekend. But I do want to say that as the new AMCO director, my most important responsibility in this function is kids, making sure alcohol and cannabis doesn't get to them. My second most priority is due process for everybody. And I want people to know that should the assembly waive its protest, the only authority I have regarding Mr. Lewis's license or this license is to provide a temporary approval. Any individual who has concerns about this license transfer may present their concerns to the ABC board on June 28th. We'll be in Nome, but we will certainly take telephonic testimony. And I mention that because we, moved a little quicker than usual with that Northeast Community Council non-objection. But if someone's on vacation, I want to let them know they still have a voice. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson, and I will go through the queue. And I just want to note that I said you were with south of the border, Mr. Lewis, on the border.
Oh, yeah, on the border. Thank
On
you.
the
No
border.
problem.
Ms. Zalatel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have a question maybe for Ms. Honest of how we ended up here today at a special meeting and why we need to take action today. If we could just kind of walk through the quick procedure.
Yes, through the chair, Ms. Zalatel. The typical procedure for the municipal review process is once we receive an application from AMCO, we send notice to the community councils and notify them of a tentatively scheduled assembly meeting date that we anticipate it will be before the assembly. And then the normal review process takes place. We distribute the application and a review transmittal to the different municipal departments. And then the deadline to respond to the state of Alaska with a response from the local government is 60 days. We can do that prior to the 60-day deadline within any time during that period. If it's later, then it's an essential wave of protest. So we are operating still within the 60-day deadline. This is moved forward more than we typically do, with the understanding that the applicant took full responsibility to work with the departments to get all of the reviews completed and inspections completed that needed to be done prior to this meeting. So he did. So this document before you is a wave of protest. There was no issues upon the review of the different departments. And so due to the deadline when the applicant wanted to be able to operate, we worked with them and the state and the reviewing agencies to try and make it possible. So we did follow all of the processes and procedures that are required by municipal code. We were just able to do it quicker.
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Zalatel.
Thank you, Ms. Honest. That's very helpful. So I have a comment to follow that up with. I appreciate that. I appreciate that in this situation. I think we would really want to examine our process in doing that as a regular routine matter. Calling a special assembly meeting is costly. And we should really have maybe some standards or some findings for good cause or something like that to systematize that, because I don't want to ever place one applicant in a position well over any other. So I think we need to really examine if we're going to do that on any other time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zalatel. Do any other members have questions or comments? Seeing no other members in the queue, members may proceed to vote on the motion to approve AM 341-2022. Madam Clerk, would you conduct the vote, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. LaFrance,
Yes?
Mr. Constant,
Yes.
Ms. Allard,
Yes.
Mr. Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Salt,
Yes.
Ms. Zalatel.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now move on to audience participation. Are there any members of the public who wish to participate? If so, please come forward. Seeing no one, that brings us to assembly comments. We will start with the phone. Ms. Allard, any comments?
Welcome to Alaska.
Thank you, Ms. Allard. Mr. Constant, any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constant. Mr. Cross?
No comment, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No comment today.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We'll go around the room. Mr. Soltz?
Just to echo Ms. Zalatel's comment.
Thank you, Mr. Soltz. Ms. Zalatel?
No comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zalatel. Mr. Dunbar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was one person I meant to name check that I didn't, actually two. So George Martinez, the new president of Northeast Community Council, and also Donna Mears. She was really the person that herded the cats and got Northeast Community Council to pass it. She's been a leader on Northeast Community Council for a little while. So I just wanted to thank her personally. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dunbar. And I would also like to thank Ms. Honest and Ms. Venaklausen for pulling this meeting together, and also your work, Ms. Honest. I appreciate Ms. Zelatel's comments and agree that is something the body should discuss and consider. Would be good for maybe a rules committee conversation. But otherwise, good luck with your grand opening. Mr. Lewis.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, again. And it was quite a process to watch, but I came out of it very heartened. Actually, it was grueling, but it was very heartening. And I won't know if I enjoyed it, but it was excellent. It was
Thank
an
you,
excellent
sir.
process watching government at work.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
That brings us to adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second. We are adjourned.